Hello and welcome to the program. I am Suren. You may have heard of positive thinking and its benefits about oneself, the world, the nature, and many others. However, can positive thinking help to become healthier and live longer? How can one begin to think positively? Can pessimism, on the other hand, about everything assist one to become unhappy and unhealthy? Why should one be confident to achieve things, becoming a better human being by becoming more positive? Good question. What would happen if everyone on the face of Earth thought positively? How about everything we as humans can do? We are told that a positive personality is something we all may be born with, but it is also something we can naturally not change. Think about it. Yet there are steps one can take to improve one's outlook on life and reduce the risk of illnesses, for example. We are also told that the various studies have found about smiling, which apparently reduces heart rate and blood pressure during stressful situations. And so, perhaps trying some humor therapy might help also, instead of worrying about anything and any people. If it is very difficult to smile for someone, perhaps listening to funny jokes or watching funny movies might help. There are many ways. Why should we worry about the crowded streets and the people pushing each other or even swearing at each other? Traffic jams on the roads. What can you do about them after all? Think about it. Maybe resilience might be a good goal to aim at, even to create good relationships with others. Accepting that all changes occurring in one's life is part of the existence we all share. It would be much better to tackle problems by taking action about them instead of hoping that they would one day disappear and resolve by themselves or by the interference of some higher authority. On the other hand, we have been informed time after time that even the problems regarding cardiovascular issues and blood vessel problems caused often by build-up of fat deposits in artery walls and by high blood pressure, which can weigh over the blood vessels wherein arteries become stiff, and heart failures and heart arrhythmias can then develop. Even the immune system within the body knows how to defend itself against bacteria, toxins, viruses, but any response from sneezing to coughing could lead to an increase in white blood cells that can attack foreign substances in the body. Therefore, becoming more positive about oneself is a better way to go, as several university studies found this to be true, including the research going on at Johns Hopkins University. Can then positive thinking help you live longer? Becoming more optimistic or more pessimistic cannot be just a psychological topic of any conversation. Evidence shows that optimism may serve as a powerful tool to prevention of all sorts of diseases and promoting certainly healthy aging, thus leading to longevity. This is not a new science, but it is possible to consider it as new because many people have not taken much note of it, probably even until now. Many people who have optimistic mindset are associated with positive health indicators like cardiovascular, metabolic, immunological factors. Therefore, it is worth to mention that they also have lower incidence of age-related illnesses as well as reduced mortality. Think about it. At this point, optimism or pessimism cannot be considered under elusive labels. They are indeed the mindsets placing individuals' attitudes on a spectrum ranging from optimistic to pessimistic. We discovered that optimists tend to live up to 15% longer than pessimists, with an excellent chance of achieving exceptional longevity. And the same can be said for even the minor illnesses like the common colds and flus. Therefore, optimism can be considered as one of the most worthy and non-biological factors involved in the traits of longevity, correlating as well as the individual psychological attributes with their health or physical and psychological. How about the universities that have conducted a lengthy research and discovered the results that optimists tend to live a lot longer than pessimists? That is to mean an age of over 85 years, while they are not dependent on socioeconomic status, general health, considering social integration, given the lifestyles of people who are optimists are more confident towards life and definitely committed to overcoming obstacles rather than thinking they can do nothing about it. A fundamental part of life is the pursuit of goals while encountering obstacles, and achieving those goals can lead to different results on individual levels of optimism. People who are confident, with a positive attitude that is, would try to overcome any obstacle, but if they are doubtful about their efforts would be successful, they usually tend to let go and most certainly experience frustration from their remaining attachments to this goal. Keep it in mind. Both optimism and pessimism posit such mechanism on a larger scale as a mental attitude. Many researchers have conducted studies in relationship between these two attitudes, and the results show during the course of real life situation is where we discover the optimists being more likely to complete, say, university studies, not because they are smarter than others, but they have more motivation. They manage easily making friends, playing sports, and they do extremely well at school. In fact, it seems that, according to the study, the optimists seem to invest their resources very carefully and favorably. Martin Seligman, who involved in college swimming teams once upon a time, was asking athletes to compete at their best. But at the end of the competition, they were deliberately given false results about their performance in regard to increasing their speed by about 2 seconds, as we said that before. After a short while of rest, during which they probably molded over their bad results, the swimmers were called to a second race, and the results between the optimists and the pessimists were significantly different. Interpretation of this experiment was that optimists tend to use failure as a goal to do better, while pessimists tend to be more discouraged. Did you notice that yourself? Probably you did. Optimism can become strengthened through positive thinking. And gratitude, says the cardiologist Alan Rosansky. We also discovered that optimism is effective for slowing down cellular aging, or which telomeres becoming shorter, and where this is considered as the biomarker. Telomeres are the protective caps at the ends of our chromosomes. We have spoken about this before. This is a research which is still progressing. Now, Elizabeth Blackburn shared the Nobel Prize for her work in discovering the enzyme which replenishes the telomeres in 2012, and it has been identified that there was a correlation between pessimism and accelerated shortening of their lives with the menopausal women who had the pessimistic attitude have been found to be associated with shorter telomeres. Optimism is thought to be determined by genetics for about 25% of the population. Rosansky, on the other hand, once explained that the human way of thinking is habitual, unaware, and so the first step is to learn to control ourselves when negative thoughts assail us, and we commit ourselves to change by the way we look at things. A growing body of research suggests that optimism plays a significant role in promoting both physical and mental well-being. Aiming at a positive outlook about life and everything about ourselves may become a powerful tool for fostering resilience, managing stress, and enhancing longevity. Remember, our thoughts play an important role in our overall health. Therefore, positive thinking is all about finding some balance and taking note of what is good in ourselves, and being optimistic and focusing on what we can change when problems arise. Keep that in mind also. It is important that we recognize our successes and that the things we are grateful for, no matter how big or small. Perhaps writing down a list of what we are grateful for may help. Perhaps one should set a time to think about the challenges in one's life, such as medical and mental health, work, finances, and relationship challenges. Among the busy humans, we need to find a small time every day to take note of our thoughts and emotions. We need to do this without judging any of them. Perhaps the problems we may have we can change, and that would be a good point to start. Again, to troubleshoot problems, it is not enough to emphasize how important it is to write down one's ideas on a piece of paper or a notebook. Also, consider if our breathing can help us. We're not changing the subject. It may be helpful to note how one's breathing is doing, how your breathing is in and breathing out is performed. Focusing on one's breath even while thoughts come into one's mind. Whenever your mind wanders, bringing your attention back to your breath and focusing your attention through breathing can be as it is being found to improve your health and your ability to bounce back from illnesses, reducing stress, anxiety, and full recovery from depression. Think about it. When finding yourself in a difficult situation, it is good to check your thoughts and feelings. Sometimes the human thoughts are not too helpful and can make us feel worse than we need to. Therefore, instead of saying, "This is not possible," it is better to ask, "What would a good friend say to me right now? Or what will make this easier? Or who can help me with this situation?" It is better to treat yourself or oneself with kindness and indeed with compassion. If those thoughts are self-critical, it is better that you treat yourself and remind yourself that no one is completely perfect. We all make mistakes because we are all human. Repeating once more time, can positive thinking help us live longer and better? Why does one need to talk about positivity to start with? Remember, the human brain is hardwired to see what's wrong, and it's always ready to recognize danger, whereas positivity is something we need to practice as human beings. For many, it may not be natural or comfortable to react. However, what can positivity do? And how could it help you? If you are really interested, you need to know this as it increases your lifespan. Right. It also reduces your depression. It lowers your level of distress. It creates resistance to common colds, believe it or not. It helps you to be physically well and be positive in every way and in the psychological sense. It assists you with your cardiovascular health and reduces the risk of death from such diseases. It gives you the much needed coping skills during times of stress and indeed hardships. It is a word which I could gladly speak of again and again every moment of every day. You have a choice. Look for what is good, what is right, what is a gift. How can one practice positive thinking to start? What is really positive thinking? I ask again. Positive thinking embraces an optimistic mindset. It does not deny or suppress negative emotions. Instead, it involves finding a realistic view which permits you to acknowledge challenges head-on. Positive thinking does not make the storms go away, but it protects you from wear and tear of stress, as illustrated by Dr. Albers. The power of positivity is widespread and impacts your mental, emotional, and physical health. It can influence your relationships. To repeat what positive thinking can do, it lowers your risk of disease and illnesses. It improves the outcome of your treatments in a medical sense, if you are having one. It extends your life expectancy. It listens to your anxiety and your depression. It improves your ability to cope with stress, and it improves your psychological well-being. So, practicing positive thinking may take time. It helps you to learn how to deal with pessimistic beliefs and behaviors. You can then see in many things a better way to apply more logical and beneficial thought patterns and solutions to emerging problems. Perhaps, as it was said before, that it's better to talk it out with someone who understands, even perhaps a therapist. It is important, therefore, to surround yourself with positive people. The more we surround ourselves with good people who share our values and have a positive mindset, the easier it becomes to embrace those same emotions. As Dr. Alder says, we are often dragged down by people who are negative about everything, and we can feel it, physically and emotionally. They may even call us sheep. Therefore, it is important to fill your time with positive content. What kind of shows do you watch on television? What kind of books do you read? What songs do you listen to throughout the day? Spending a lot of time on the social media, which stresses you out, or you find yourself, as it was said, doom scrolling. Indeed, we can uniquely curate our content so we consume stories, songs, and movies that carry positive messages, inspiring us to embrace a more hopeful and more positive mindset. We all need to avoid anything that is negative. Let us call it toxic positivity. It can cause more harm than good when you are denying or neglecting negative emotions for the sake of positivity. Try to acknowledge how you really feel and take a step back to look at what is actually happening. Dr. Alder says it is like being told to smile when you are hurting. It can feel forced and invalidating. Therefore, he says, true optimism means honoring the hard feelings and holding a space for hope. You need to reflect negative thinking with more positive thoughts when it makes sense. It is also said that reframing negative thoughts retrains your brain. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Think about it. Taking care of one's physical health and general well-being is as important as keeping one's mind healthy and positive. It cannot be said enough. Remember, the better one's health, the better one's ability to think and react to situations. Remember also to exercise, to sleep, to eat healthy, to create and maintain social connections. As the doctor says, when we feel good in our bodies, we feel good in our brains as well. Positive thinking does a lot more than just bringing smiles to your face. It can help heal your body in many ways you may have never thought were possible. According to research, it shows that positive thinking can prevent a host of other medical maladies, like, as I said before, cardiovascular diseases, depression, and anxiety. Positive thoughts may also improve your immune system's function while speeding along the recovery times. Positive thinking does things in people's mindset, leading to better living habits. Positive people generally do not smoke or drink nearly as much alcohol. Optimum is to exercise more, and all these habits could lead to a long life and higher quality of existence. Now, a study from Yale University points to a positive thinking and longer lifespan. Several studies on people who live to be more than 100 years old find that they cite a happy attitude as the one and only key to having a long life. Positive thinking is more than just some New Age interests. Positive thinking in scientific studies shows that the principle that positive thinking may lead to positive health outcomes. What do you know? Think about living longer now, healthier and happier. When and if people generally accepted each other without discriminating and not seeking anything to be critical about, and as you know, that some are really happy to find faults only in others, to make themselves feel superior, there would be more peace amongst the people of earth. Remember that. But remember also, peace starts first within one's self. Blaming and condemning starts likewise within one's own self. Once the self-criticisms are controlled, this would reflect outwards towards others also. Criticism of others for no constructive ways can be detrimental for society's well-being. Watch out how you name others. I found the truthfulness of this conclusion while experimenting with art tuition as a clinical psychologist and an artist. I found that advising the students how to do their creative work as they required, not as I have wanted to see them emulating my brush strokes. Since it was not my desire to have live brushes to create my style of work, I preferred them to create their own in positive ways, as well as assisting them along the way to do real art expressions. In the process, it has been proven to me how important it was for them to express their inner artist confidently by their own positive attitudes towards it and themselves. Marriage, romantic engagements often do not last these days very long. Why do you think it is so? Self-criticism, or criticizing the other just to find something to downgrade or find faults to make oneself feel superior? This attitude from both sides has the power to destroy all the joy and the zest for living. Believe it or not. I believe that this assumption or conclusion is psychologically correct. How can one become more optimistic? Good question. If you are naturally optimistic or not, you can certainly take more steps towards that direction and reframe situations. With some others, when confronting difficulties, they usually tend to only view the negative aspects of the situation. They may, in fact, be considering these aspects as being unchangeable. Consider. However, there is always a chance to reframe a difficult situation. At least some research for any positive aspects would be commendable. Is there perhaps anything that one can learn from? Is there something you can teach others with? The best thing is to get ready to set goals. They need to be achievable goals for each day. You can certainly adjust these goals as needed. We all can. You can be specific and very realistic. One needs to identify specific areas that one can plan on doing things, even if it is, say, painting, tidying up, cleaning, cooking, and whatever else. Setting goals and having the confidence to achieve those goals is always related to optimism. Keep that in mind also. Therefore, setting aside some time to focus on the positive things is another milestone. Use a set time each day, if necessary, perhaps at bedtime. Think about your positive aspects of your day. What went well? What were you happy about? What were you proud of? One other good news to practice is gratitude meditations, in which you can focus on giving thanks for the positive aspects of your existence. It can include family members, if you have any, your friends, or even your possessions, among many other things. And you can find many scripts and guided meditations if you desire so. Or you may go to the sea, or do some gardening. One other area is to strengthen your social relationships. Research into yourself, and it is discovered that optimism is related to strong social networks. For instance, visiting galleries, presenting your works of art about, if you are an artist, and creating a network of people who are interested in art, particularly your art. Strong social network by nature can be with close friends you can be involved with in community-wise activities, and you may be joining new groups and scheduling time to see friends and family, if you have any. Practice smile. Even half smile will do. When there are any sad feelings, it is good to practice to do smiling exercises for a few minutes each day. Either full or partial smile will do too. It works extremely well, like magic. My advice will be to conduct and be involved in positive psychology to harness the power of happiness in strength and mindfulness. This is a guide to the concepts that can help you find well-being and happiness based on the recent research material. Remember, positive emotions have been always linked with better health and longer life. Be happy. On the other hand, what do you think about sleep? Your own sleep. It really takes you in a different reality, doesn't it? And a world of dreams. I don't wish to talk about what really dreaming is at this point in a very technical vein. After all, we are living in a world where everything is explained in a cold and clinical manner. No. But what I'm about to tell you is that when sleeping, you feel as if you are in a real place. Of course, you may say that you never dream or have no dreams to recall, or you may agree with me and say the same as I mention in a similar fashion of things, like I do. It's a place that is, if you are able to recall them, or perhaps being programmed to do so, you are in a different place. That feels warm, more than real, and your own mind may be saying to you either you are home or considering it as such after you wake up to physical reality that your experience of dreaming was all like the foam at the seashore. And we are back in the physical reality now. Let me take you into a different place, within a different approach to the subject matter. Imagine that you are a child, as you have experienced it when you were very young, and experienced the physical reality, and you can recall. Do you remember how you listened to something musical or by the word of mouth, as when, say, your parents told you a story or read it from a book? Perhaps it may have been a storybook for you to listen to it. You did tend to drifting into that story you were hearing. And there came a moment your mind took over, interpreting what you were listening to and telling you, probably within a different realm where it felt so surreal, so physical in fact. When you really felt you were home and were interacting with others, some were unknown to you, others somehow known, and you just enjoyed the experience under normal circumstances, or not enjoying it due to feeling uncomfortable, enjoying it due to, or not enjoying it due to feeling uncomfortable, probably due to health reasons. And possibly someone from somewhere approached you, telling you to do something to assist your discomfort to become better. You just don't desire to forget it. And if you are lucky, and you tell all about your dreams to your mother or father, and to their surprise, that is if they are not conditioned by the traditional or religious trainings, and accepting that they should take you to a doctor, a healer, or someone who is known to find remedies. You were given some medicines that made you well. Indeed, this has happened to many children that I have seen throughout the years of my professional life. As children grow up, and not rejecting their dreams, and not led to taking them out of context, the number of inventions have been impossible to have in our physical world today, if it didn't happen. Yet there are many societies wherein dreams are considered as a bad thing, and sometimes even evil. Some cults do that. Sometimes they were considered as the communication with the bad spirits, or simply dismissed or considered as impossible. Have you had this kind of experience? I bet. As some of us had. There are also people around the world who like to interpret the dreams of other people's, usually ending with wrong decisions and wrong conclusions, and thus conducting their conflicts and wars still on, as we see today all around our world. In ancient times, where there were many dream interpreters, soothsayers, fortune tellers, as well as religions of dark fanaticism was ripe, as it is in some cultures of today, on the face of earth. And accordingly, you could be subjected to, often wrongly, assumptions and judged due to casual but sort of interpretations of dreams. Some of us have been thus hurt and or traumatized. What about dreaming about people? Meet them in person that you are familiar with, but gone through the natural causes from the physical reality? You are familiar with them, and yet in those dreams they were more than real and alive, as it was in this realm you know as the physical world. All the unusualness you experience in those dreams are so realistic. It's very hard to dismiss all of those. What about scientists, philosophers, and their dreams? Why do you think that I am talking to you about your dreams right now, all of a sudden? I tell you, that is because all realities are found in there. Although everything we are being considered as the things of the denser kind, we should be able to touch, hear, taste, and see in the physical sense, and which we consider as the only reality. Think about it. But do we all know about what is real and what is false? Are we really positive about life? Do we really know everything? Our sciences are not advanced enough to tell us what thought is and what consciousness can be. Perhaps it is time to advance by allowing the absurd and unbelievable, which can be at least psychologically explained. All your physical sensations and feelings therein, at the mind's own level of experiencing the entire universe, where you share the whole of existence, need be accepted first. That is positivity. Consciousness is not the result of chemical and electrical impulses, utilized as needed along the way to create consciousness. Remember, in some regions of the brain which may not function properly due to a form of damage, although the unexplainable consciousness always exists and will do so if there is some positivity. Similarly, water is always available on the planet in a physical sense, as you are familiar with, but you cannot get any of it if there were no canals, pipes, containers, and even just a simple faucet to have running water in your homes. Faucets don't produce the water, but it passes them through for you to enjoy. Pipes cannot carry the water, when blocked? Your dreams, expectations, and hopes, and everything that makes you, you, need a healthy body and brain to make life work in a physical way. Consciousness is definitely and absolutely free of such elements, available within the entire universe, independent of the workings of the physical body and the brain. What you are feeling may be colored by being force-fed in your youth. Think about it. Your pessimism and optimism are dependent on the same. However, when you think happy, and you will be, but when you're thinking unhappy, you will become exactly that. So what is real and what is not? What is pessimistic or optimistic? Just consider. With that, I shall stop this program here until we meet again. Until then, keep smiling and be really, really happy. Be positive and live long. Thank you.